the talk of how to fund the various programs that Democrats, namely Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, are promising to fight for if they become the nominee and eventually the president of the United States, a new poll out shows a larger desire to tax the rich. Now, specifically in the form of a wealth tax, in which, of course, both candidates have pledged to use funds from a wealth tax to fund their priorities. So now, according to a new poll released on Wednesday by Hill and Harris X, they found that just over 2/3 of Americans favor a tax on the wealthiest households in the country. So now the numbers are great. And they shouldn't be surprising, of course, but they're still great. 67% of respondents, including majorities of Democrats and independents, say that there should be a wealth tax on billionaires. Clear majority of Democrats, 85%, backed the proposal, along with 66% of independents. Now, that is important because you've got a massive majority of Americans. Democrats, yes, make up a small portion, just as small as Republicans, but independents, people who don't conform to either party, 66%. That is a clear majority. That's amazing. Not only that, but when you go to the Republicans, it's also kind of amazing. 47% said that they would also support a wealth tax on billionaires. 47% of Republicans. Yes, tax the billionaires on their wealth. Amazing. And look, why? Why do Americans support a wealth tax? It's because they've collected obscene wealth, while regular working people, of course, cannot make ends meet. In fact, 40% of Americans work low-wage jobs, making about $18,000 a year. That same percent, unsurprisingly, since they don't have any money, can't afford a $400 emergency. This is all while, wealthy people continue to get tax cuts under Donald Trump and giveaways and things like that. And so, look, it's not surprising that most of America thinks, no, we need to tax those MFers. Let's do it. Now, a conservative study also found, and I talked about this yesterday, that the average American male, and yes, they didn't just focus on the male, they also had the female who did far worse than that. But the average American male now, the supposed breadwinner, can no longer support a family and a 40-hour-a-week income. It's literally impossible because they do not make enough money. The average American male would have to work 53 weeks out of the year in order to afford all the 4 different essentials in order to survive. Now, that, of course, I wouldn't definitely consider those essentials, but there's transportation, there's health insurance, there's education, and I forget the other one, right? And one of them stood pretty steady, right? While health insurance and the cost of college has skyrocketed. And so under those 4 metrics, being able to thrive, the average American male cannot do so. And of course, the female does even worse. It would take her 66 weeks in order to be able to afford those 4 different metrics. That is an unmitigated disaster. Now, this is despite being the most productive that we have ever been in a society. There is something out there that is clearly not working. Right, it's capitalism. Or really, of course, what we have is a system of crony capitalism, where the rich own the government, they own the lawmakers because they bought them, who write the laws to benefit their donors, the rich people. Just saying. This isn't the only poll, by the way. Another one done by Reuters Ipsos had similar findings, with 64% of Americans supporting a wealth tax. Both Sanders and Warren, by the way, have mentioned that revenue from their wealth tax would go to stuff that benefits Americans, stuff that is actually very popular. For example, universal child care, which Bernie Sanders just came out with a new plan that's deeply progressive. Elizabeth Warren has one too, that is decent, but more means tested and so more moderate. And then you also have Medicare for all, which would be funded partly by the wealth tax as well. as well as tuition-free public colleges and universities. All of these programs are very popular with the American people. So you kind of got to ask, who are the centrists in this situation? The people who put forward policies supported by both Democrats, independents, and even some Republicans are able to come to the center and bring support from all the different sides, or those who don't and want to continue the polite cronyism and corruption taking place? The answer to me seems fairly obvious. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.